Hello people, I'm Shaggy the Opinionated Hippie with my album of the week for actually the past 2 weeks. It's now February 27th, so I got the releases from the 21st and the 14th as I made a video but somehow forgot to drop it. So I have a video from the previous week. I'm going to cut to that. That will be my first album. And then after I talk about that, it will cut to my album I'm doing this week. And then after that, I will rank those albums according to all the other ones I've done this year in 2025 for my albums of the week. Yeah, that's it. So anyways, here we go. On to the first album, which is actually from last week. Yeah. So my album of the week for the week of February 14th through February 20th is a debut album from a band called Horsebath. Horrible name. Their debut album, Another Farewell. The funny thing is, I got a comment from the previous album of the week that they did not like the one I had, Sharon Von Etten's, which I think is fantastic. But again, it's music. We all have different opinions. And they recommended that, Horse Girl, which I went and checked out, which I really, really enjoyed. It's kind of reminds me of a 90s indie rock. Like I could have seen them opening for Pavement or Modest Mouse back in the day, or in that genre of albums, sort of an updated version of that. I really, really enjoyed that album. But in going to find the Horse Girl album, I came across Horsebath, Another Farewell. And this one eked out the Horse Girl album as my favorite for the week. But thank you for the Horse Girl recommendation, because I would have not have got here otherwise. They're a band from Canada. Apparently they put on great live shows. Apparently they tour a lot. This is their debut, but it's a very much Canadian, Americana, country infused type, rootsy, folksy type album. Not pop rock. We're definitely more of a country neighborhood, but not traditional country, not pop country, not Nashville country. Like living on the road, acoustic instruments a lot, just a really warm, inviting, comfortable listen. Very good for winter nights, very good for the cold weather we've been having here in Texas. It was just the perfect album this past week. Hard to Love has almost like a really nice piano action, almost like a slight Dwight Yoakam type feel to it, a little more higher energy stuff than maybe some of the stuff on the rest of the album, but nowhere near what we call like a full rock song, just some kind of like upbeat, twangy, country guitar, slightly rock energy, upbeat. Great opener. Also reminds me of sort of Deer Tick, 2010 era, early Deer Tick. Deer Tick's on tour. They're coming to San Antonio with somebody really fantastic. Oh, with the Drive-By Truckers. That's a great combination. Great opening song. In the Shade, the follow-up, kind of reminds me of a Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young sort of country folk vibe, something maybe Stills or Crosby would have delivered. Just really good, moody type folky country vibe. Only in My Dreams sounds like the type of country song like the Beatles or the Kinks would have covered, or if the Kinks specifically, if they were doing country, Muswell type vibe, maybe even earlier. That sort of non-American country, like what a Canadian or a Brit would think country sounds like, just has that nice, good, feel-good acoustic vibe. Yeah, just really good stuff on here if you like this sort of subgenre of country. Really did a number on me. Reminds me of a Mungo Jerry, kind of in the summertime, that kind of country vibe where it's a little bit just also kind of poppy and a little bit twangy, just that late 60s psych country, but not like deep, deep psych country, like pleasant, happy, slightly funky psych country. Every time I hear this, I think of that Mungo Jerry in the Summertime song. Don't know what it is. Country Wilco. I think this is in 3. So like it's got a little waltzy vibe to it. That kind of like softer if Wilco was doing kind of a country waltzy type song, that kind of country vibe. Another farewell, just a full strumming, swaying, full country vibe, really nice harmonica action. Get a lot of Wilco in here, like early Wilco when they would do country, get that vibe, but it doesn't sound dated like early Wilco, but I think that's the lane they're in here. Long and Lonesome, probably the highlight of the album. Absolutely amazing. Bass driven, kind of slightly groovy. The vocalist, I don't know how many vocalists are in here. I don't know much about this band, but it's mostly male vocals. I think it's all male vocals. If it's a female, then she's got a deeper voice. He can get low and kind of husky. That's the A Long and Lonesome has a sort of a lower, huskier vibe, but then he also kind of a pleasant countryer vibe. His tone is a little bit all over the place, so we're not locked into like if you don't like it, you don't like it. Kind of changes from song to song. There might be more than one vocalist. I'm not sure. Train to Babylon, bass driven, has that locomotive country train vibe. Kind of fish back on the train vibe I wrote on here. That kind of a lot of momentum in the song, as a train song would. Very moving forward energy. Never to Be Another You has this bass that kind of sounds like a Peter Gunn early 60s instrumental, almost Booker T-ish at times, like a very almost surf rock energy. A little bit of interesting mixing of genres in this. Almost vocally, almost has a Stray Cat Strut type vocal vibe. Really just good, eclectic, late album energy. And then Turn My Lover Loose, upbeat, harmonica, country. We close the album out on some good stuff. Haven't really delved into the vocals too much, but the vocals all seem to be pretty centered around solid ideas. Like I didn't think anything was too ridiculous. The Train to Babylon references trains. We don't need songs about trains anymore, but still, I'll give them that. Some of this stuff seemed a little maybe depressing love-wise, but I've been kind of hyper fixated on the music, and I think the music is just an absolutely great one of those albums that like you can think other than the quality of the sound. Did they release this in the 70s? Is this like a hidden treasure that got unearthed? Are they playing homage to a whole bunch of whole artists? Is just this her sound? Is there a Canadian country scene I now need to get into? Yeah, I really, 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 really enjoyed this album. Another farewell, the debut album from Canadian, I think they're Northeast Canadian, up there in Montreal, maybe even farther northeast than that, from Horsebath. Fantastic, fantastic album. Yeah. And these are my thoughts about this week's album of the week, Youth Lagoon's Rarely Do I Dream. Youth Lagoon is out of Boise, Idaho. We got another good Idaho band representing great music. Trevor Powers is essentially is Youth Lagoon. I think he's the main songwriter. I think he's the singer, maybe the sort of like creative voice behind the band. And this album and a lot of his stuff is very modern psych music, not like the heavy guitar-based psych music, but that sort of like pop, indie rock psych with like electronic beats, a lot of like beautiful production where it has almost a lo-fi quality to it. Like a lot of these songs sound like he could have just done these in his bedroom with like a drum machine and some synthesizers. You always got some really nice guitar parts that pop up throughout, not on every song, but throughout the album. And anytime they do, his playing is pretty fantastic. I think he is also the main guitar player. So it's really, he has another good player, Eric Eastman. I don't know who's doing the play. There's a couple guitar players on here. But great band and great musicianship. But it's a very like neo-psych vibe. Kind of a little bit of a Arcade Fire vibe at times, like early Arcade Fire. Just has that every song doesn't necessarily have this verse chorus structure, but puts you in sort of this groove and this headspace. And we got these lyrics. And if you weren't paying attention to the lyrics, I think everything would just make you like bob your head and feel really good. But then when you listen to the lyrics, you realize they're kind of dark. And yeah, there's some dark stuff going on. And so another person who reminds me of is Sufjan Stevens, particularly Chicago, where you have this is not as bright and poppy and sort of arty as Chicago is, but it has a very positive vibe. But then you listen to the lyrics and you're like, oh, there's some darkness in here. There's a conceit for this album is he found a bunch of old VHS tapes that his father had made home videos and then transferred them to like VHS tapes. And so he got inspired to write a lot of these songs. So as you're reading the lyrics or listening to the lyrics, some of this stuff may have to do about his childhood, might have to do with somebody like they talk about a girl that they found in a river that maybe someone had killed. There's a bite mark on her. There's a preacher who's not doing preacher stuff with some of the women in town. There's, hey, I saw Mr. So-and-so with someone who's not his wife. There's possibly a parent who dies, who passes on, who Trevor's missing. This is very much seems to be about this man's life. And he uses actual audio from the videotapes over the songs, but it all just works. And I think the fact that these might actually be real stories or real incidences gives the darkness in the lyrics darkerness, makes them darker. There's also reference to taking pills, to hiding them under somebody's shoes, to like using morphine. There's a lot of darkness in here, but musically it's nostalgic, but at the same time not. It's not flowery. Oh yeah, those were the best times. It's like, man, remember those times? There's a song about childhood and just remembering like, I remember this, and I remember this, but maybe that wasn't all as cool as I thought it was. I don't know. I've only listened to it for a couple times. It's only been a week. I have listened to it probably far more than anything in the past week. It's bringing me in every time, but it's a fascinating listen. Opening song, we get a lot, maybe how many songs on there? There's 12 songs. Maybe half of them have audio in them. The first and the last one have more so than the other ones, but they set up the rest of the album. Neighborhood Scene. Airy vocals, a lot of these, has that Sufjan Stevens sort of airy vocals. The first track has this light Arcade Fire vibe. Definitely doesn't feel as much like a song as some of the other stuff. Sets up like we're coming in with this vibe, got these really big, nice drums to kind of fill the space. Just a really awesome opener into sort of this journey over the next 45 minutes or so. Speed Freak, much more electronic, much more synthy, much more questions about whether my childhood memories are good memories or not. Definitely more of a dance groove techno thing, but it fits the Speed Freak vibe and the Speed Freak lyrics. Football, chiller, but kind of still busy pop, really airy vocals. This is the one in which apparently the preacher is sleeping with a local woman and like, are you the one who caught the football? Who caught the football? Let's remember. Does it matter who caught the football? Just remembering sort of what mattered back in childhood. Gumshoe, parentheses, Dracula from Arkansas. This is the one in which they find a body in the river. I think somebody drowned. There's bite marks on her. The detective found bite marks on her. They found a bracelet she had been given. Really nice snaky guitar in here that kind of weaves its way, that pretty buried kind of in the mix. It's not too in the forefront, but it gives it this sort of, it's one of those that the more I listened to it, the more the guitar playing kind of drew me in, but it also gave it just this kind of creepier vibe. Fantastic groove. Just, it's maybe one of the better feeling songs, but then you listen to the lyrics and you're like, oh yeah. I think they found a dead body in the river. Seersucker, really nice piano with a lot of audio. There's a reference about Pop Odine in 90 Line, like maybe somebody passed away. This one, and there's a couple others, give me Stereolab vibes with that sort of electronic drum vibe, but then you just get these really nice, what feel like analog synths, but are warmer synth sounds just kind of surrounding you. Sadness at the heart of this song, Seersucker, but the music is kind of upbeat and kind of, helps dilute that sadness. Lucy Takes a Picture. We get a reference to morphine in a spoon. Definitely a slightly poppier vibe here, but still very dreamy, very floaty, very chill, but this nice kind of bounce to it. Perfect World. Busier synth vibe, little funkier electronic beats, really nice groove here. We get some nice builds and drops, a little more of an actually dynamic kind of constructed song instead of just a vibe for 4 minutes, which I'm not complaining about the vibe for 4 minutes, but having songs like Perfect World in here, My Beautiful Girl, which is a little more of a intimate piano whimsical song, help kind of vary the musical soundscape so it's not just a 4 minute set piece, We get these couple songs throughout that feel more like songs. My Beautiful Girl, reference to somebody who's stashing their pills in somebody else's stuff, but it has a kind of a fun, whimsical vibe. Also, if you're a fan of Faye Webster, I don't know if anybody out there listens to Faye Webster, but I get some Faye Webster vibes, especially in the way he sings. Reminds me of the way she delivers her songs. Canary, some dark details in these lyrics. as canary in a coal mine is maybe the reference that they're making, but it's nice and bouncy, low-key vibe, some more really nice guitar work. And there's a trumpet in the, I think it's a trumpet that's in the distance, maybe a really like muted sax that's kind of lurking in the distance to give it atmosphere. Parking Lot is this weird, dark, quirky, slightly trippy song, one of the more psych songs on here that just kind of deals with parking lots, people who hang out in them, running across them, being in one. Just there's a parking lot energy. And I don't know about you. I don't know when this guy was raised or how old he is, but when I was a kid in the 80s, we hung out in a lot of parking lots in the 70s and 80s. Saturday Cowboy Matinee, really great keyboard work, very simple poppy vibe with this raspy, almost desperate vocal over it. Just a really neat song with different instruments that kind of come in, but it keeps this kind of really pure poppy sound. And then finally, we close out with Home Movies, which seems to be snippets of home movies throughout the ages. They're going to do their first family Easter egg hunt. Somebody got handcuffs for Christmas or for his birthday. It's like a little bit all over there. It's kind of cool. Anyways, fascinating album. I think I'm looking forward. It's one of those I'm really excited to return to. The playing of the audio from the videotapes works. It is his, you can tell it's his videotapes. Like they keep talking about Trevor. Trevor's the guy who wrote these songs. This is a very personal album, but in writing really good lyrics that seem to hint at darkness, that seem to maybe there's a mystery to reveal about his childhood. I don't know. It's fascinating. I think it's a great listen. It's really good. But the question is, where would I rank these two albums amidst all the other ones that I've done so far this year? And I would rank them right there. So Youth Lagoon is my favorite. Recency bias. I reserve the right to move these around as the year goes on. And Horsebath is at number 4. Below Crocofant's fantastic prog jazz and Sharon Van Etten's just absolutely awesome album with the Attachment Theory, which I think is one of her best yet. But yeah, those are the 6 I've done thus far this year. I missed a couple weeks in there. First couple weeks, there wasn't a lot of really good stuff dropped. But yeah, those are my 6 so far in 2025. All right, let me know if you check either one of these out. If you do, drop me a line. Let me know, even if you don't like it, because I like the feedback. I definitely don't think this is a channel that's definitely, the people watching this are into these albums so far. But my vibe early in the year is usually chill. It's around spring break when I start to get a lot more aggressive in my music listening. Then once we get to the summer, that's when all the metal drops. At least if there's good metal albums. But anyways, all right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Peace. Talk to you later.